Hi, I'm Mike Messier, and welcome to Messier Mantra. On this episode, I'm happy to introduce you to a very good friend of mine. She's a great actor, and she's a filmmaker. Her name is Christine Hunt. Hi, Christine.
Hey, Mike. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being on the Messier Mantra.
Really excited to be here.
Great. And we've kind of worked together a few times. We've shot some stuff, and you've really helped me out on some table reads. And the first time I saw your acting was in a really kind of cryptic film. Remember that from a few years ago?
My Pretty Mora?
Yeah.
Yes, that was a couple years ago when I was on the show last time, and that definitely was a dark film.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you guys filmed on an island?
Oh, that was actually Capture. So that was a different film. That was a feature film I was in, directed by Kate Carson. That was a great time. My most cherished memories, actually, that week.
I remember going to the Columbus Theater on Broadway in Providence,
yeah.
and then Kate Carson and her team had this really magnificent screening with a lot of interesting people in the audience, and you really stood out in this film.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I remember really enjoying that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and since then you've gone on to continue your acting studies, and also being a filmmaker yourself. Absolutely,
yes. I decided to write a short film, and really was just, looking to do something, a role that was a little more challenging, and also provide that opportunity for other cast members as well. And, was inspired by the story and wrote it and got it produced about a year ago. And it was a wonderful experience. First time I had my hands fully immersed in a producer role, which was a lot of work. Usually I would just show up on set and,
right.
In front of the camera as an actress, but the producing side was fully immersed and engaged in every aspect of the film. So
thrown into the hot end of the river or whatever. Yes, deep end of the pool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it was my baby. I wrote it, so I knew exactly what I had in mind, but also was open to suggestions, of course, from the director, and just kind of went for it, and it was a wonderful experience. So,
what's the title of the piece?
It's called Threads That Bind Us.
Threads That Bind
Yes.
Us. I understand on Messier Mantra, as we know, we're going to have a little preview, a little
yes.
Trailer teaser type of thing.
Definitely.
So let's check it out.
Okay, sounds good.
Right now on Messier Mantra, we're going to enjoy the trailer for Threads That Bind Us, filmed by Christine Hunt. Let's check it out.
I'm so confused. I missed you so much. I missed you too.
She makes me happy, okay? Happy in a way you never have.
Why are we here?
Threads That Bind Us, filmed by Christine Hunt. Welcome back, Christine.
Thank you.
Shaking hands left and right. So, Threads That Bind Us, what was the inspiration for this project?
The inspiration was somewhat personal, not exactly, obviously I tend to not write exactly all the facts based on anything I've been through, but it was inspired by something I went through that I really wanted to tell a story that really showed the challenging sides of humanity and the strange things that can go into being family and relationships, marriage, you name it. And just really, wanted to explore those areas that maybe are a little risque and not many people may talk about them, and hopefully inspire my audience to maybe start some conversations that are a little difficult, and not be afraid to admit to the weaknesses that humanity can have. So my character is Rose. Her name is Rose, and she is married, has a child, and she's dealing with something somewhat of a post-traumatic stress disorder that's coming out in a really strange form. Had a loss when she was a child, and so you kind of follow her journey through that, where she's facing this intersection of making these decisions about her life and her, family and love, and really the coming undone of her, and how she finds redemption and understanding in that situation. So
almost the unthreading of the character,
yes,
perhaps?
Somewhat, but also really emphasizing the threads of family that are not easily understood nor easily broken either, and how that all plays out. So I don't want to give too much away. There's definitely an element of mystery in it as well. You watch the trailer, and maybe you assume you might know what it's about, but you'll be surprised. So
nice.
Yeah.
I noticed a cemetery scene in the picture.
Yes.
And was that a difficult shot or a difficult scene in any logistical or emotional type of way?
There were challenges to being on that location. We shot mostly in New Hampshire, on the seacoast of New Hampshire, which I'm from New Hampshire. I live on the seacoast, and I really was very proud to be able to shoot in such a beautiful, location. And, I had many locations too, so that was a challenging when it came to production. But I stumbled upon a cemetery in Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts, and fell in love. I actually have a very strange love for cemeteries.
Okay, fair enough.
There's actually two places that I absolutely love, is the ocean and cemeteries.
All right.
Somehow,
I'll be seeing you next week, Christine. Burial at Sea for Messier Mantra host.
It's a strange, now that I think of it, I almost drowned when I was a kid.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Came very close to death. And even though that happened, I still absolutely adore and love the ocean. It's very therapeutic to me. I go there when I want clarity. But I can do the same at a cemetery.
Okay.
There's something where it just, there's, obviously, it's not, to me, it's not about death. It's really about life. And, it's a place to really reflect and to quiet your soul, and maybe even connect, to your surroundings. Sometimes I'll cry there, it's a good place to cry.
Well, sure.
So this, definitely the cemetery was part of the script.
Right.
And it was very significant, definitely part of the story. But this location was breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
I have not.
It is humongous and gorgeous. And I wrote this scene in fall, so we, had to wait for some seasons, and it ended up being perfect. It was a little bit of guerrilla filming,
Sure.
But that, and also you have this reverence and respect that you're,
right.
You're in a very sacred place. So there was a little bit of an element of stress, and when it came to that, and it was very windy that day. But overall, it ended up being great. We had to move fast, really get the shots done, and dealing with weather and sun coming in and out. But it ended up being perfect and beautiful, and really, really enjoyed the shoot there.
Yeah, the scene looks really nice with the
Thank you.
shot of the scene.
Yeah, it's great.
And the emotional content, was the actors used in that scene, did they have any preparation that you needed to help them with to get the emotional content, or?
So in that scene, Kate Carson was on set, and also actually a young girl, about, I believe she was maybe 10 or 11 at the time. Her name is Emma Broomfield, and she, had to display some, emotions. Nothing, hysteric or anything like that. Just a lot in her face, and she did a really great job at that. We decided to on location that day to change the direction we were going when it came to the scene. So Kate Carson was actually completely emotionally prepared to have a really tough moment on film, but as we were hashing it out, between the director, myself, and Kate Carson, we all realized that it wasn't making sense for her to be the one to be upset. So I had to be the one to be upset. So Kate had been preparing all this time with her methods of preparation to get to that place of, you know, being that emotional, raw place you need to be. So in a moment's notice, I had to be the one to get there. And a miracle happened on set. It came, it happened. We caught it on camera the first take.
Wow, that
which
doesn't
is,
happen all the time.
a miracle. And it was very, very authentic moment. And it was amazing. And thankfully, the director and DP kept rolling.
Right.
It was a scene where I had to respond and react to seeing something that wasn't there.
Right.
So the scene played out in my mind, and I reacted to what I saw in my mind, and it happened. It was probably one of the most fulfilling and beautiful moments I've had as an actress. You know, just being there and getting to that place where, you know, sometimes it's not easy to get to.
No, it's not. And isn't
yeah.
it satisfying, Christine, when these moments that you feel so good about actually are filmed and
Yes.
obviously filmed well?
Definitely. And then when you see it, then it's like, okay, it worked. You know, you may think it worked, but then you see it and it doesn't. But in this case, it did work. So,
Right. Because even, I mean, in my experience is like sometimes you'll really feel like you nailed something, you feel great about it, and then, you know, look over and the DP is like, oh yeah, can you do it again I didn't have the button, you know.
Yeah, we forgot to push play.
Right.
The sound guy, you know, was daydreaming or whatever, you know.
I was in a film school just doing a film exercise, and they had me and the actress, my scene partner, ad-lib something. Which, you know, just for a school exercise. And I even said, like, hey, you guys may want to record this. You know,
Yeah.
you don't know. And they're like, nah, just do the wing. You know? So we did this whole thing, and, like, everybody was stunned. Like, me and this actress, we hardly knew each other. Well, we played a married couple. Okay. And we just started going at it, nailing each other with zingers. And they didn't record any of it.
Oh, no.
And you just feel like empty. And you feel like, and then you, as an actor, I don't know about you, but sometimes you feel, you can't help but feel like a little angry that you don't even want to perform again as well, because you're like, you guys, you know, meaning the crew kind of let me down here the first time, so I'm going to hold back. Not that you should feel that way, but like just the emotional human condition sometimes is to go there.
Yeah, and as actors, or, you know, any performer, it takes a lot to get to that magic place that doesn't always happen, you know. So yeah, we want to have something to show for it,
right? So
that we can, you know, be reminded of that moment and reminded of why we love what we're doing. So, but yeah, I would have been frustrated too. Actually.
It wasn't frustrating. Not that it should have happened 8 years ago. I'm still sitting here talking about it. Wow, I'll be all right. I need a moment now. But what I think is really interesting about this process for Threads That Bind Us is you're the writer, producer, lead actor.
Yes.
And you're working with Kate Carson, who's great. And if you know, like as you said, she directed Capture, I'm sorry. So she directed Capture, which you starred in. And so now you're kind of like flipping the switch a little bit.
Definitely. And we also co-wrote My Pretty Mora, the other short film I mentioned earlier. So I definitely knew that I wanted to work with her. I knew already that I wanted to cast her, to be in my film. And it worked out great because, you know, I needed a certain look. And Sean Carmichael, he's a Boston-based actor who I cast. Actually, last minute, we had to do an emergency recasting due to a schedule conflict. And, you know, his role wasn't an easy role. There was definitely some preparation involved and, you know, plenty of lines to remember. So some scenes had some heavy dialogue. And he came right in and nailed it. Like, I was so impressed, and he ended up being perfect for the role, absolutely perfect. And we had a great, you know, on-set chemistry and worked really well together because we had some really tough scenes to do together that were emotional.
Right.
And some physical and not sexual, but, you know, where we had a somewhat of a physical struggle and really had to trust each other and go there. So he did a great job. And I was really proud to have my daughter, my middle daughter, be in my film as well. Her name is Ariel Joy Hunt. She always wants to make sure I say Joy.
Oh, that's nice. That's her middle name.
Yes. And she did a great job. It was one of her first bigger roles. She had done a couple parts before, but that also required some emotional depth, and she nailed it there as well. Some other people that were in my film were Diana Porter,
Yes.
Kathy Ann Hart. We had another child actress who played my daughter in the film. Her name is Clara Candela. And I'm just trying to make sure I didn't forget anybody here. There were some, other people that were in it, some extras and stuff. But one thing I really liked about my film is it, definitely had a lot of women actors in my film that I was really proud to work with and had worked with before. Some I hadn't, but overall I was really, really happy with the cast and the way it came out. So. Now
you mentioned working with women actors, heavy emphasis on that in this screenplay turned film, obviously. Yes. So do you feel that there's a different vibe with more ladies on set, more female actors, or is it pretty much just good people making good films, or is there different chemistry perhaps? What do you think?
I think it's definitely all of that. I mean, definitely good people making good film. There is a certain element of different chemistry, but I don't think sex dictates talent necessarily. We all tick a different way, male, female. But I mean, the director was male,
right.
So there's definitely that male influence, that male perspective. And I think it's important to get both perspectives, honestly, because I may see something one way, I may be motivated by a certain thing, and, my director could come along and be more practical about his, what he perceives a scene to have, or the motivations of the actors, and it really, really struck a great balance. So I definitely think it's important to have both, involved. But of course, I'm a woman. I'm very proud that, of being a woman. But I definitely think that it's great to have both, both people and both sexes involved for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
And this, this past year, with the Oscar controversy, is the Oscars older white men kind of running the show or keeping it like a boys club type of thing.
Yeah.
And then that is a trickle down perhaps to the independent film scene. I'm just kind of speculating, but is those issues something that comes to your mind, or more like, hey, I'm just doing my thing? You know what I mean? Like, is there?
It's interesting you asked that, because when I was casting for this film, I did want to have a variety of people on my film. I did tend to have, and my director kept pointing out, you have a lot of brown hair, brown eyes in your film, and there was a reason for that. There was a family element there that we had to look like each other, and
right.
this and that. But we did have Diana Porter, who's a redhead, and I believe green eyes.
Yeah.
Kathy Ann Hart is, she's a black woman herself. And I did, want to have those elements in my film, and but I think it just depends on the story too.
Right.
I mean, if there's no, a specification, then okay, you could be open to casting whoever.
Right.
But if it's very specific, then you're definitely confined by that story, I guess.
Right.
So, and those characters that are in the story.
If there's a particular family, say an Italian family, then more or less you're going to cast Italian folks.
Yeah, Italian, someone that looks Italian,
right.
Definitely.
Or Native American people.
Yeah.
You're not going to have, Joey Irish,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
McGinney's Pub coming in. And
yeah, definitely. And, the whole issue with Oscars and stuff, I mean, you never really know what's going on behind the scenes either. There's a lot
Right.
of politics involved, as we know, with any kind of big association. So, but, hopefully we'll see some changes.
it's good, from my perspective, to see anybody making a movie of content, and also to see female filmmakers and minority filmmakers, so to speak, if that's
Yeah.
even the term anymore, but just people making films that, for me, it comes down to the content. Is it good content? It's not just, slasher bimbos in space or something.
Yeah.
Like, can we raise the bar of the writing, the acting type of thing?
Definitely. And I'm not just speaking from a biased point of view. Maybe I am, because it's my film, but I have seen a lot of films in this area, independent films, and I truly believe my story is a very unique one.
Right.
I haven't seen anything like it. It's a beautiful story. It's going to take the audience on a journey they don't expect. And when we were filming, I really kept telling the director that I really want my audience to ride these waves that are connected throughout the story, and you're going up, you're going down, you're taking unexpected turns. To me, that's my desire, was to really grip the audience from the beginning, keep their attention the whole time, surprise them a little bit,
right,
and leave them feeling amazed by the beauty of a story and the characters involved, and find something in themselves that they can identify with, and walk away really moved and talking about it, to inspire discussion and stuff. So I'm inspired to be a storyteller. I'm looking for inspiration right now, hoping to write something again.
Right.
So, yeah.
Threads That Bind Us. You have Sean Carmichael, I believe, one of the actors, is kind of busily editing as we speak.
Yes, he is editing it. The director was editing it for the majority of the rough cut. But as we know, people have lives and they have other commitments. So it was decided that it was probably best to pass it along to somebody that had a little bit more time than he did,
right,
so he could focus on his family and the things that he wanted to pursue. He's an incredible writer himself. Jason Santo, I mentioned his name earlier, did an incredible job directing and editing most of it. But now it's in the hands of Sean Carmichael, and he's doing an incredible job getting it finished. So we're hoping it's going to be done by June. So
people watching Messier Mantra with Christine Hunt, so maybe when a couple months come, they just Threads That Bind Us, Google it, see where it's at as far as the film festival scene, or
yeah, definitely. It's on IMDb. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Threads That Bind Us movie, or the movie. I should have looked. But yeah, you could definitely Google. I'm sure it'll come up. I do want to have a screening as when it's close to being done, or when it's done, of course. I'd love to have the local Boston, New England community come and check it out and celebrate in what we accomplished. And we came up against a lot of challenges throughout filming.
Yep.
As I mentioned, seasons. We had to wait for certain seasons. We went through winter. A couple people had surgeries through it. Kate Carson had knee surgery and was limping on set.
Oh, no.
My director had a minor surgery that put him out for a couple weeks.
Wow.
There were some personal challenges. There was emergency recasting. All this stuff, and we had actually no budget, but we managed to do it. We had some great sponsors, local sponsors, that I was able to get on board, that helped us with everything from food to hotels and other things that we needed. We needed a lot of roses actually for the scenes, and because the spacing of the time between each time, maybe we shot one weekend and maybe it was a month later we shot another weekend, so the same scene needed the roses. So
right,
I had a local sponsor for that as well. And I list all my sponsors on my Facebook page, but a lot of great community support, and we did it. I'm really proud.
That's great.
Yeah.
And maybe like our, friend, the aforementioned Kate Carson, you'll have a screening in one of those nice venues that a few weeks or months ago we were at the screening of Kate and Richard Bailey's film.
Yes.
That was a nice. What was that called in? Their film?
It was Cleve.
Right.
They screened Cleve, and they also had a New England trailer. I don't know what they called it. Trailer Fest.
Yes.
So that was actually the first place I screened Threads That Bind Us trailer.
Yes.
So that was very exciting to see it on the big screen.
Right.
A little nerve-wracking as well, but anytime you share your stuff, you get a little nervous, but it was more exciting than anything, and it was great to be there with all those other talented people, and there's some good stuff coming out of here. So
I think that was in Somerville, unless I'm mistaken.
I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of
blur.
places lately, and it does blur, actually.
It might have been the Somerville Arts Center. I hope I'm not
something
upsetting.
like that, Firehouse.
Yeah. It's a nice venue.
Yeah, it was beautiful there.
And just the reason to mention this is, for the audience, it's nice when the New England film community does come together for an evening like that, and you as a filmmaker say, hey, look, here's my preview of my film coming up. And to their credit, Rich Bailey and Kate Carson, they kind of open up their arms a little bit to the community and say, hey, we're having our film play tonight, our 30-minute film, 20-minute film, but we're going to share the screen with our friends or with our collaborators, and not even all their friends, like people they probably didn't know that well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that was really nice, and I think you went up for like kind of a mini Q&A about the piece.
I did. Yeah. So yeah, it was really great that they did that. It's not, I think that they have the mindset of community anyway.
Right.
They really recruit, people, local people, and create this community of filmmakers. So really talented group of people, and Kate Carson's one of my dearest friends too. So it's great to see their success and what they're doing, and just moving forward. So. Yeah.
And it's good just for people outside this little bubble, so to speak, of New England film. Just say, hey, look, there can be some community, whether it's people watching the Messier Mantra in Idaho. We have a big Idaho contingency.
Oh, you do?
And I have no idea.
Nice.
But as far as having a show, we're happy to have the show online, so people anywhere can watch and say, hey, maybe they can start something in their own community. Maybe they already have something going. You know what I mean? Just regional districts of film or theater or any arts community, they can really help each other out a little bit.
Definitely. I definitely could not have made my film on my own. I definitely reached out and, recruited some help, and really happy I did. I mean, it was a great process. So.
And Messier Mantra is all about having a mantra.
Okay.
I'm kind of coming at you because I forgot to mention it, but every show I like to ask the guest, do you have a mantra about your filmmaking, about your life? Your writing, anything that kind of inspires you, maybe a quote from a famous person, or just an ethic you kind of live by? Is there anything you want to share?
I definitely have a quote, and hopefully I can quote it correctly. It's by Bruce Lee.
Yes.
Let's see. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in the presence of fear. And I believe I got that correct, because
I think you did too.
I just shared that with somebody the other day, and I've really lived by that for the last probably 8 years. I set out to accomplish some things that I dreamt about, and got there and did it, and then I got into acting, and all the time feeling this presence of a little bit of fear.
Right.
And fear can be crippling. And when I found that quote, it really inspired me, because you're going to have fear no matter what you're doing. And yeah, the confidence comes, of course, and that fear will subside. But whenever you're pushing yourself, out of your comfort zone, you have to remember that, even though you sense that fear, don't let it cripple you. It's courage can still exist in the same room as fear exists. So it's really just remembering that, and I try to remember that whenever I feel, whether I'm feeling intimidated by something I'm going to do, or a little fearful, unsure. I still have courage there, even if it's just quiet and small at first. The more I give the courage attention instead of the fear, the courage becomes louder than the fear. So I'm actually preaching to myself right now. That's pretty cool. But
You have it on tape. Christine,
that's great. Oh, good. I'm not disappointed then.
Well, guess what? We've reached the end of this
Awesome.
episode. We're going to have you back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Hunt here on Messier Mantra. We'll see you next time.